Hey guys, it's Aliana here, and today I have another 5 Photoshop hacks. These are really useful and some of my personal favorites. Alright, so let's get started and dive right into it. So if you really love photos that have a very shallow depth of field while including a ton of detail, I think you're really going to love tip number 1, which consists of using the Bren-Iser method. Basically, it involves shooting a bunch of frames and then stitching them together in Photoshop. So to do this, first focus on getting at least one shot of your subject that you're really happy with. To get that blurry background, shoot wide open, then tell them to hold nice and still, and change your focus to manual mode so that it doesn't begin to adjust. And then begin to shoot around your subject. Try to shoot in an organized layout from left to right. This will help Photoshop to stitch the images a lot better. Ideally, you'll want to be left anywhere between 25 to 35 frames. Okay, so once you download all of the photos onto your desktop, go ahead and place them all into one folder. And then in Photoshop, go to File, Automate, and Photo Merge. Locate your files and make sure that the layout is set to auto. And also, you're going to want to have blend images together and content aware fill transparent areas checked. Alright, so this is what it looks like once all of the photos are placed together. I wouldn't have been able to achieve this with just one frame. So personally, this is one of my all-time favorite tools within Photoshop. I think it's awesome and it really helps to add a lot more detail. So this next tip is really great if you're drawn to photos with a lot of negative space. You've probably seen this a lot on Instagram. It's that overall desaturated crisp look with a lot of white or neutral tones. This tip works particularly well with images that have some sky in them or some neutral colors. You'll want to go to hue saturation first and then to your blues. Desaturate your blues until they take on a grayish white tone and then amp up your lightness to brighten them up. Then repeat the exact same step for your cyans. Alright, so this took away the blue from the sky, which I wanted, but it also took away the blue from the groom's vest, which I definitely don't want. So to fix this, I'm going to select a soft black paintbrush because remember, black conceals and white reveals. And while making sure that my hue saturation layer mask is selected, I'm just going to go ahead and paint over the parts of the photo in which I'd like some of the blue to show again. Then go to your selective color tool and select your whites. Go to the black slider and place it at around -100 or so. It also affected the whites within her dress, so to remove this, I'm simply going to select my selective color layer mask and a black paintbrush and then paint over her dress. And here is the before and the after. So this next tip is really great when it comes to showcasing photos on your blog. So say you want to pair 2 photos side by side, or you want to post a whole bunch of photos that are pretty similar directly next to each other to give the feeling of movement within the photos. This is where clipping masks would really come in handy. If you'd like to download a few photo templates that you can use clipping masks with to use on your blog, I do have some available for free download, and I'll include the link below for that. Okay, so here I want this photo to be in this light pink section. So I'm going to go ahead and place the photo directly over that light pink layer in my layers panel, and then go to layer and create clipping mask. And now we can see that the photo is clipped to only show up in that area. So if you're looking to just jazz up your photos a bit, clipping masks work really well for that. For example, here we have a pink background and a flower design over it, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a circle frame to place one of these photos in using the shape tool. And then I'm going to go ahead and clip the photo to it. So if you'd like to change the background color to better match the colors within the photo, that can easily be done too by just double clicking on the color fill layer and then changing the color to whatever you'd like. So personally, I really love it when the greens in my photos tend to be less yellow and more of a muted minty green look. If you also like that look, here's a really quick way to achieve that. First, go to your hue saturation and then the greens and place your hue at about +40 and your saturation at about -40. Do the exact same for your yellows. Now, these numbers will vary from image to image, so play around with it, but eventually you should be left with some softer greens that look a bit more like those found within film photography. Okay, so now for the final tip. This consists of easily creating and adding a bit of colorful bokeh to your photos. So interestingly enough, we can actually create bokeh effects with photos that just really aren't that great in general or are kind of blurry. To do this, first go to Blur Gallery and then Field Blur. Adjust the blur until the image is really blurry, and then go to Effects and raise both your light bokeh and bokeh color to taste. Then go ahead and select and copy the photo and place it over the photo you'd like to add the effect to. Then select the bokeh layer and change its blending mode from normal to screen. So this just kind of went ahead and added a playful, almost retro-like effect to this photo, and I really like how it's a bit more on the subtle side, a bit of pink, but nothing too drastic. However, if you'd like to amp it up, you can always add a light flare. I'm going to go ahead and see what this looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and add a solid color layer and then select black. Then I'm going to go to Filter, Render, Lens Flare, and Convert to Smart Object. For my lens type, I'm going to go ahead and choose 50 to 300 millimeter, as well as place my brightness at about 132. Then I'm going to change my blending mode to screen, and while selecting my lens flare layer, I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur, and place the blur at about 25 pixels. And this just went ahead and made the lens flare a little bit more realistic, I feel. Okay, so here is the total before and after. Okay, so that covers all 5 tips. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. Also, if you'd like to download the clipping mask templates for your blog, I'll include the link for you all below. Thanks so much for watching, and talk soon. Bye, guys.